Hey, what's up? I'm doing pretty well myself. Let's start with the video now. Okay. Okay, so I remember I was woken up by my mom around 9:30. She wanted me to help her with this song that she was writing. She wanted me to put it into the Google Music Generator Syria on a Gemini 3.1 Pro. So she sent me the lyrics. I sent them to the generator. I asked it to make the song in various different styles. I downloaded those songs. I sent them to her through text, and she would rate them and constantly be asking back and forth about which one she wanted. I was super tired while this was happening. I was like laying in my bed and I wanted to go back to sleep as soon as possible. She then left for work, and I stayed in bed until like around 12, where I was then woken up. Wait, no, not 12, 11. I stayed in bed till 11. I was then woken up by my mom on my phone asking me if she could do the Gemini music generations on her own. So I carefully walked her through the process from opening the app to selecting the model to generate with, to posting the song, to asking the song generator to generate the song the way you want it to be generated. And then she was like, thank you. And she got to work. Yeah, she even sent me some songs. I listened to them and I gave my thoughts on them. And that was pretty much that. I then got up my bed and I decided to have some cereal, milk, and coffee, black coffee. And I decided to finish watching the Triplets of Belleville. In this one, this continuation, it was basically the triplets are hanging out in their house with the grandma who's looking for her son, and we see them live their day-to-day lives, like throwing a grenade in a pond to have it explode and get frogs, where they make frog leg soup and frog sticks. Apparently, even the dog's freaked out by the whole frog thing. He's like, oh my gosh, what the heck is this? The dog doesn't talk. He remains quiet, or he just makes dog noises the whole time. Very realistic, but yeah, that was pretty interesting. And apparently, the grandma character, when they're turning in for the night, wants to use various items around the house, such as the refrigerator to put the food away, but one of the triplets is like, no, no, no. And then the old woman or grandmother is trying to vacuum the floor, and then another triplet's going, no, no, no. And then the grandmother sees a newspaper. I don't remember exactly what she does with the newspaper, though. I want to say she wants to throw it away, but again, I don't know, and I'm not confident about that. But one of the final triplet says, no, no, no. And then they basically just go in their room and watch some silly black and white live action footage of a guy riding a bicycle and getting into all kinds of wacky shenanigans. Well, the grandmother goes to sleep. And then after that, we see why those triplets were so apprehensive about the grandmother using their appliances. Apparently, the triplets in their more modern act use the appliances to create new music. So apparently, they use it to one of them crinkles up the paper and then makes like round, round, sounds, and then another one opens a refrigerator and plays with the metal attachments in the refrigerator. Go dong 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 dong, and then the last one turns on the vacuum and uses the suction to go. And yep, it was pretty interesting, pretty unique, not gonna lie. And then the old woman, or grandmother, how she met with the triplets, she uses the tool that she used when she met them, which was the bicycle wheel with the metal attachments on the wheel, hitting it with like a drum going. And so it creates this strange cacophony of weird sounds. But then the dog character notices that one of the people who is sitting there enjoying the show is like a mafia leader with the two other mafia dudes. Apparently they're French mafia, not the American mafia. Like, I was mistaken about that because I saw the Statue of Liberty earlier. The only reason why I found out it was a French mafia is because people in the comment section apparently said that. So I was like, I guess it is the French mafia. Anyways, so yeah, they're going to threaten to take out the dog, but then the dog's like, no. And apparently that clues the grandmother into who took her son. And they find this like interesting character with like big old ears and a giant like nose, and he looks like a human mouse. So that's pretty interesting. And he even makes a mouse sound too, every now and then. So I just thought that was really weird. Well, anywho, moving along from that, the grandmother pretends to be blind in this city that she's unfamiliar with, using the dog as sort of her guiding dog and like hitting, with the crane, and she's hoping like she can eventually get to the guy who's like, getting a shave from like a what do you call those people who shave you at or give you a haircut? I'm forgetting the name, but like he's getting that outside. And it's funny, like they make a joke about his ears being so big and him not wanting his ears to get cut, so he puts like these metal covering over his ears to make sure that he's okay while the guy is shaving his face. And then he puts like a warm towel over his like face after like his face is shaved. And like throughout this whole scene, like the old woman is constantly like there's this guy like who's like a Boy Scout, like a really obese Boy Scout. A lot of the people in the town are obese for some reason, probably some kind of commentary on America consumerism or something. But yeah, the boy's trying to get him to cross get the grandmother across the street, but the grandmother's not blind, so she's like, no, I'm trying to seize my opportunity. And so when she gets her opportunity of, his face is covered, now I can get his, like, pretend like it's an accident that I got his, jacket and then take it with me, and I can see the identity of this individual is and where I may find them. And so that's what she does. And like when the Boy Scout sees that, he's like shocked, like, oh my gosh, she stole his stuff. But he doesn't really do anything about it or report it, which is kind of weird. He just has this kind of shocked and disgusted expression. I don't know. Maybe he was like giving the benefit of the doubt that, she's blind, and so she didn't actually mean it. She just took it with her. But you'd think if like someone gave a shocked expression like that, they wouldn't like intervene and grab the guy's stuff and say, "Hey, you're taking his stuff. No, that's his. Let me bring it back to him." But he didn't really do that, so that was odd. That was an odd choice. Anywho, she's back at the triplets' house, and they're looking at the photos and everything, and they find out the location the little mouse mechanic guy works at. And so they go over to the location, and they even like dress up as the mafia, like to get in, and it's very funny. But what isn't funny is what's at stake, and like they're showing these guys like cycling in this area where they're being like betted on by the mafia. They're like it's like sports betting, but in real life in the universe of the movie. And one of the guys collapses from pure exhaustion, and the guy who is keeping score of how well the cyclists are doing, he's this really creepy looking dude with like these big front teeth and like these big wide eyes with like glasses, and like he's got like one lazy eye and one straight eye, and they're like dots. And ooh, very creepy character design. Very thin, long, spangly looking fellow, and he looks like he lacks any kind of remorse or you know consideration, because when the guy collapses from losing the race, the guy straight up gets a gun and then shoots the cyclist. So yeah, very edgy movie indeed. Then the mafia takes his body away in a wide shot. We don't get a graphic depiction, which is good though, because I don't know, that would have been too far. It was far enough implying it anyways. But yeah, now we know what's at stake. The other cyclists, including the grandmother's son, are like now in a race, not just a betting race, but a race for their lives. But then, like the mechanic, he's working there. He's trying to keep the machine running, but then like he decides to go back because he runs out of oil to keep the machine well ran. So he goes in back, but then he's knocked out, and then they by one of the triplets with a frying pan, and they grandmother dresses up as the mouse mechanic with like a fake nose, mustache, and the metal ears, and then like she goes under, but she isn't fixing the machine or oiling it. She is unscrewing the machine so it can come off its hinges, and the cyclists can start zooming their cycler across the town to get away from the mafia. And after she does this, the guy immediately realizes what's up, the creepy lazy eye guy, and so he's about to take her out. But then what happens is that I think like the triplets come in and they like stop him from doing that, but I forget exactly what they did. um I don't remember if they hit him with a frying pan or not, but in any case he gets like knocked out or taken out, whichever one. And then the mafia see the triplets, and they do recognize them because apparently they're very popular, and it's to the point where they even sing their first line of their song. You hear them in their hoarse, like labored, like gravelly voices, do 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 rendezvous, and and then when they find out that they're being played like fiddles, they all decide to get like their guns and start shooting. But then like they're able to get away, and then there's this big epic car chase where like the mafia keeps on getting taken out in the most ridiculous and unrealistic ways. But I guess it's like supposed to be like a cartoon, so you're not supposed to be that scrutinizing of it. It's clearly at the end of the day something made for comedy. Very dark comedy, but comedy nonetheless. Um, and then yeah, that's pretty much the end of the movie. After their chase, they get away. There's like this epic final scene where like the main boss of the mafia like somehow falls into like a steamboat like cylinder, and then explodes him, and he goes up into the sky with his buddies, and like fireworks happen. And then they go off into the horizon in a wide shot, and then it ends with like the final scene of the movie is playing on the TV screen in the house that the boy's in. But now he looks like a middle-aged man, and he said, "All right, Grandma, the movie's over." Even though, like, I don't know, wouldn't his grandma be dead by then, or at the very least extremely old? I'm not exactly sure how that works. Um, I guess there are plenty of grandmothers that live to be over 100, right? So if the grandmother was, I don't know, say in her like, well, the movie starts when he's like a boy and the grandmother's like, I don't know, maybe in her 50s, and then the boy grows up, and then he's like, if we're being generous, in his early 20s, maybe 21, goes from being like, I don't know, 6 or 7, maybe. We'll just say 7, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 years later, that grandmother, assuming they were like, she was in her like 50s, would be in her early 60s. And then like the guy looks like he's in his 50s at the end of the movie, which would be 30 years. That would mean that the grandmother would have to be in her like mid 90s. So holy cow, that implies that he lived with his grandmother his whole life, which is interesting implication there. Yeah, and that was the movie, and it ended with a really fun cover of the opening song of the film, of the Triplets of Belleville. And yeah, I have to say, it was a very unique experience. It was a very interesting experience. I even looked up what was the inspiration for the movie from the director, and apparently he based the character of the grandmother off of like his own grandmother, I believe, and then he like based like the dog character off of a dog that was in his hometown. It was like part autobiographical, part complete fantasy. Um, Very interesting film. I haven't really seen anything like it since. He did do other movies. I think I did watch The Illusionist when I was like, when that came out. I think we watched on like a Netflix DVD at the time. Must have been 10 years old when I watched that. But it's been so long that I don't really remember much about it. And he did do A Magnificent Life, 2D animated film that was released in theaters that I did watch and I did review. So, that's that review is somewhere on this channel if you look it up. I think A Magnificent Life review or something. Yeah, so I did watch that. It was a bit drier than Triplets of Belleville, A Magnificent Life. It felt more like it was trying to owe itself to being more realistic, I guess, or just more like locked into the world that it was telling. It was a film that was adapting a real person's life story. So naturally, it's not going to be as like cartoony or weird as something like Triplets, which came straight from the director's imagination. And you could tell, like, that movie did feel a bit more restrained. It still had a lot of beautiful art in it, and it was a joy to see frame by frame traditional 2D animation on a big screen. Like that is such a rarity in today's like computer animated saturated market, that seeing something like that was a real treat for a 2D animation fan like myself. But in terms of like something that would be broadly, generally appealing to a lot of people, no, not really. It is a very niche movie, the Magnificent Life. The Triplets, it is also a very niche movie, but I could see it still appealing to more people because of just how weird and out of left field it can be. And I think that's pretty cool. All right, well, okay. After finishing watching that, there was this video that was recommended to me or no, not recommended to me. I wanted to find a video of a guy who was filming footage of Area 51. I think this was spurred on because the first video that was recommended to me was, I saw what was at Area 52. I clicked on it, kind of liked the vlog style of the video where it was just filming the guy, going off on this little adventure with camera and stuff. But apparently he did another video about Area 51, so I selected that. And before watching it, I went out into the kitchen. I made another cup of coffee. I made some bagels. I washed the plate. I had the cereal in that I was watching Triplets for. And I went in my room. Before I went in my room, I greeted my sister. I told her what I was doing. She said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." I was watching Area 51 video. Went in, watched it. It was basically a guy recounting his experience while also showing footage of him going through his experience of this going up on Tikaboo Peak and then trying to use the best zoom-in camera he possibly could to get as much detail of the Area 51 bases he possibly could. It got me curious about what were the best quality photos and videos for Area 51. So I looked it up on Claude, and it gave me recommendations of these video or pictures of people using extreme zoom lenses and images stitched together. It was really cool to see all that. Very rare to see such a secretive base in high detail. Do I think there's alien craft in there? Probably not. Probably just top secret military, flying machines that are being tested for future missions. But, if there is some kind of extraterrestrial or non-human technology there, I wouldn't imagine they would have it be easily visible up on Tikaboo Peak. They'd probably keep that stuff underground in secret base somewhere. Not in one of the most well-known places on Earth. That would be just really dumb. Assuming it's real and it's not just a phenomenon that's loaded with a bunch of grifters that are trying to make a quick buck off of people who want to believe in this kind of stuff. All right, well, moving along. After watching that, I remember my sister told me that she made noodles, spaghetti noodles with a special type of sauce, and so I could have some. So I had 2 bowls of that while watching the Area 51 video. And when I was done with that, I decided to get ready for work because it was going to be that time. I put on my work clothes. I grabbed the final A&W Zero Sugar that was in the fridge. I said goodbye to my sister, told her I love her. I said goodbye to our family friend, told her I love her too. Went into my car and I drove off to work. And when I arrived at work, I punched in and got started on the sweeps because that's just what I do. Sweep produce, sweep break room, I swept the store floor, I punched everything in on time, I checked the restrooms, make sure they had plenty of toilet paper and paper towels and soap and toilet bowl coverings or seat coverings, I mean. And a funny story, when I was sweeping the break room, I checked the fridge to make sure I put my soda in the fridge because I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember putting my soda in the fridge. I didn't see my soda in there, so I was like, wait, oh no, did I leave it in the car? So I asked one of my co-managers if I could check my car, and they said, sure. I went over, I checked it, and yes, I did leave my soda in the car. Luckily, it was only less than an hour that I left in there, so it was still mostly cool in this, car that was heating up inside. But yeah, I'm glad I came to that realization sooner rather than later. Otherwise, I would have had a lukewarm A&W zero sugar, and that would have sucked. Yeah, and my last hour before lunch, I took out the trashes, bagged for customers, gathered all of the trashes I could, brought them up to the back room, receiving room, and then I punched out for lunch. I went upstairs. I had my Italian, 1/5 of my Italian sub sandwich, the third piece out of 5. So I've got 2 pieces after this one left. I had 2 different types of Lay's chips, the Cuban steak chip and the garlic cream sauce chip, and they were pretty good, with the A&W zero sugar. After eating that and watching a bit of a Area 52, the Saucer Diner little podcast where Chris Ramsey, UAP Gerb, and Jesse Michaels. I'm well aware UAP Gerb has a real name, but for some reason I'm totally blanking out on his name right now. So right now I'm just going to call him UAP Gerb. Sorry. They're all three at a diner, and they're basically just talking about what it's like talking about this phenomenon. And it was a pretty interesting discussion. Nearing the end, I decided to take some documented UFO cases and get the YouTube transcript and send that to Claude, and then have Claude analyze the legitimacy of some of these encounters. I then returned back to work, punched back in, and then after that, I finished taking out the trashes. I was asked by one of my coworkers before going upstairs for lunch if I could take out the produce trash. I said sure, so I did exactly that. I put it away. I threw it outside. Put the trash away in the trash bags and threw them outside. And wiped down the check stands. I cleared lot. I brought on the carts and signs. I closed the produce blinds. I continued my sweeps and punched them in as best as I could. There was this weird interaction where there was this lady who told me hey, there's this guy with a backpack coming in. I wanted you to say something funny to him. And I was like, okay. And so when I saw him and he had this bottle of Martinelli's, my brain was racing with what should I say? I don't know. It was a grape flavored Martinelli. So it was I hope you have a grape night. And he was like, thanks. And then he left. And he was like, oh, that's funny. And never before have I been more defeated. Because, there was this expectation that I was going to say something funny, and I didn't. So, it was lame. I didn't really have much material to work with, though, to be fair. But I mean, what can you really do with Martinelli's? And I got nothing. You're about to bring in the juice. I don't know. Anyways, moving forward, I finished all my closing duties. I was wiping down check stands 3 and 4 as my last check stands. I remember as I was doing that, my co-manager was talking with one of my co-cashiers and stock clerks, and he was talking about this guy was trying to steal ribs, and saying, this guy, he was trying to steal ribs, and he was trying to be all threatening, and I was like, no, I'm not having that. And it was pretty funny. And as I was wiping down the last check stand, he said, did you do it? And I was like, what do you mean? And then he said something what was that show that with Scully and the X-Files, bro? For some reason, he said X-Files. I was like, well, I do have the Blu-ray of that. And they said, what's a Blu-ray? And then I was like, well, it's this disc that you get and you put into a disc player and it plays the thing on a screen. He says, what? It's like, well, I do enjoy owning media that I like. And, you know, I don't have to worry about any licenses expiring and can just keep the thing for as long as I want. I was like, what? And I was like, oh, never mind. And then I finished wiping down the last check stand. I threw out the trashes. I punched out. I grabbed a can, my A&W can that I was empty. I went downstairs. I said goodbye to the meat department clerk. I said goodbye to someone who shows up late at night after everyone's left, who used to work during the day but doesn't anymore. And then I said goodbye to my co-manager. Before we both walked out, I said that like I need to wait because they were doing a few things. So while I was waiting, I found these things called like ducks, with like little like American hats on, and I was like having them like dance to the music playing in the store, like just to entertain myself, I guess. And then yeah, the co-manager came out. We walked out together, and then he said, all right, Batman, be careful out there. And then I said, you too, Robin. And then I did this. Whoosh. And yeah, I went to my car. I got in. I had Claude read out its debunk of the whole, UFO thing that I sent it. I drove home. When I arrived, I decided to have the last lemonade packet that I got for free from work and a cup of water. I also had some alligator sausage snacks. And then I brushed my teeth. Well, first I took my vitamins, then I brushed my teeth. And then I was like watching some more UFO stories and seeing what the AI said. All of it's explainable as swamp gas and balloons. Nothing is very substantial here. And I was like, gosh dang it, Claude. But, I guess it's trying. It really only does what data it's fed, it reports back what data is being fed to it. So I don't know, maybe it's fed to debunk these stories or something. I don't know. I mean, hey, at the end of the day though, it is important to be aware of the truth rather than believe a lie. So I guess it's just me wanting to believe instead of facing facts, which is that more likely than not, perhaps a lot of these are very explainable as hoaxes, but there's a few that are very interesting, like the Virginia case, for example, and people claiming they saw the Phoenix Lights ship with the gunmetal with the lights around it and stuff. Part of you doesn't know if it's just people's imaginations getting the best of them or if like there's some genuine anomaly, but it's interesting to hear at the very least. I then opened my phone with the camera and I hit the record button. That's pretty much my day in a nutshell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.